3 years of 70-hour weeks at a Houston law firm, never taking a single sick day, all for it to end on the morning I was supposed to close the biggest deal of my career. Fired by someone who'd never passed the bar exam simply because his last name matched the one on the building. What he didn't realize was that I was the only reason 41 major clients stayed, and he had just flipped the switch on his own destruction. My name is Rachel Miles, and at 36 I'd built my entire identity around being the most dependable contract lawyer at Peterman Legal. That Monday started like any other. Coffee at 6:30, desk by 7, reviewing the Hartley Industries acquisition documents for what had to be the 20th time, a $12 million deal I'd personally shepherded through 3 months of negotiations. At 9:47, an email popped up, not from my supervisor Marcus, who was buried in depositions, but from Jake Peterman, 28, Stanford dropout, son of the founding partner, summoning me to his office. He'd been installed as executive director 6 weeks earlier after an extensive national search that somehow skipped every qualified candidate and landed on the boss's kid fresh from 5 years of soul searching in Bali. I saved my work, straightened my jacket, and walked the long hallway to the corner office once owned by a partner with 30 years of experience, now stripped of law books and degrees and filled with motivational posters and a putting green. He didn't look up when I knocked, told me to sit in a deliberately low chair, scrolled through his phone with designer sneakers on his father's imported mahogany desk, then finally said, "We needed to discuss my future." When I asked about Hartley, he waved it off, talking about cultural fit, dynamic synergy, and the firm's direction. Cultural fit. After I'd billed more hours than any other non-partner for 3 straight years and maintained a 94% client retention rate. He called me competent like it was an insult, talked about innovation and disruption, and then said it plainly. Today was my last day, sliding over an NDA, a non-compete, and 3 months severance if I went quietly. He told me Tori would handle the transition, his girlfriend, a paralegal of 4 weeks who couldn't format a memo, didn't have a law license, and used ChatGPT for client emails. When I objected, he smiled without warmth, warned me about deep pockets and litigation, and gave me 1 hour to clear out. I stood there thinking about 3 years of skipped vacations, working through pneumonia, building systems, templates, and relationships with 41 corporate clients who trusted me with million-dollar problems. My fingerprints on every major deal, even if my name was nowhere public. 1 hour, he repeated, already typing on his phone. I walked back to my office in a daze, colleagues avoiding eye contact as word spread, knowing I was radioactive now, packing 3 years of my life into 60 minutes as I pulled out my personal laptop, the one I used when the firm's ancient systems crashed late at night. My personal phone, the number I'd given to clients who needed weekend help. My handwritten notes, my reference books, my coffee mug that read, "World's okayest lawyer." What they couldn't pack into a box were the relationships I'd built, the personal cell numbers saved in my phone, the trust earned through countless hours of meticulous work. As security watched me fill a banker's box, I thought about Hartley Industries, about how their CEO, Patricia Hartley, had specifically requested me after I'd saved them from a catastrophic merger 2 years ago, about how she'd invited me to her daughter's wedding, about how she had no idea that tomorrow her $12 million acquisition would be handled by someone who thought, whereas was spelled, whereas. I signed the papers, took my box, handed over my keycard, but as I walked out of Peterman Legal for the last time, past the marble lobby and the commissioned portraits of 3 generations of Petermans, I wasn't thinking about what I'd lost. I was thinking about what they'd forgotten I still had. I sat in my home office at 2:15 p.m., still wearing my suit, staring at the banker's box like it might explain what had just happened. The house was quiet. Too quiet for a Monday afternoon. I should have been in the Hartley meeting right now, walking Patricia through the final terms. Instead, I was unemployed. The shock faded, replaced by something sharper. Maybe anger. Maybe clarity. I opened my laptop and started taking inventory of what I actually possessed versus what Peterman Legal thought they owned. First, the documents. Over 3 years, I'd developed a comprehensive system of contract templates, due diligence checklists, and negotiation frameworks. The firm had never asked me to transfer them to their servers, probably because no one there understood their value. They lived in my personal cloud storage, meticulously organized, my intellectual property, created on my own time, refined through hundreds of deals. Second, the contacts. I picked up my personal phone and scrolled through the numbers. Patricia Hartley, David Kim at Nexus Industries, Sarah Rodriguez at Blackstone Holdings, 41 CEOs, CFOs, and general counsels who had my direct line because Peterman Legal's official channels meant waiting 3 days for a callback. These weren't business cards collected at networking events. These were people who texted me photos of their kids, who asked for restaurant recommendations, who trusted me with their corporate secrets because I'd proven myself through years of 2 a.m. crisis calls and weekend emergency sessions. Third, the knowledge. I opened a spreadsheet and began listing every active deal, every pending negotiation, every client quirk and preference. Johnson Tech needed everything in blue ink. Their CEO was superstitious. Meridian Corp required all meetings before 10 a.m. because their board was based in London. Hartley Industries had a hidden arbitration clause in their vendor agreements that I'd discovered and quietly corrected in 17 different contracts. Details that weren't in any file, context that couldn't be handed off in a 1-hour transition meeting with someone who thought due diligence meant running a Google search. My phone buzzed. Marcus, my former supervisor, had heard what happened. "Can't believe it. Jake says Tori is taking over your files. God help us all." I didn't respond. The NDA was vague about personal communications, and I wasn't taking chances. But Marcus's message confirmed what I suspected. Panic was already setting in. I pulled up the Texas Bar Association website. The non-compete clause Jake had made me sign was 18 months, but non-competes in Texas were notoriously difficult to enforce, especially when the termination was without cause, especially when the employee could show bad faith. Being fired to make room for the boss's unqualified girlfriend might qualify. I made a list of what I couldn't do. Solicit Peterman's clients directly, share confidential information, disparage the firm publicly. Then I made a list of what I could do. Maintain personal friendships, work as an independent consultant, share my own intellectual property, respond if contacted. The distinction mattered. I couldn't reach out to Patricia Hartley about the acquisition, but if Patricia Hartley reached out to me, that was a different story. By 4:30 p.m., I'd turned my dining room into a war room, 3 years of accumulated knowledge spread across the table. Not client files, those belonged to Peterman, but my personal notes, my systems, my frameworks, the infrastructure I'd built that had made me indispensable, or so I'd thought. I created a new email address, R. Miles Consulting, not a competing firm, just a professional presence, and updated my LinkedIn to independent legal consultant, no mention of Peterman Legal, no violation of any agreement. Then I waited. The first text came at 5:43 p.m. from Patricia Hartley. "Rachel, the new lawyer, just asked me what force majeure means. Please tell me this is a joke." I stared at the message. Technically, responding about the Hartley acquisition would violate the NDA, but expressing sympathy for a friend's frustration wouldn't. "I'm no longer with Peterman Legal as of today. I hope your deal proceeds smoothly." Her response was immediate. "What? Call me now. I'm bound by certain agreements. I can't discuss specifics. Can you discuss anything over coffee as friends?" I smiled for the first time all day. As friends, always. By 8 p.m., I'd received similar messages from 6 other clients. Word traveled fast in Houston's corporate circles. Each carefully worded response made it clear I was gone. I was restricted, but I existed. Jake Peterman thought he'd surgically removed a replaceable cog from his machine. He'd sent emails to the staff about new directions and fresh perspectives, probably written by the same ChatGPT that Tori used for legal documents. What he didn't understand, what 3 generations of Peterman lawyers had never understood, was that modern legal practice wasn't about the firm's name on the letterhead. It was about the 3 a.m. phone calls, the weekend emergencies, the trusted voice on the other end of the line who actually knew what force majeure meant. They had the building, the letterhead, the marble lobby. I had everything else. 3 days into unemployment, I sat across from Martin Bailey in a conference room that smelled like leather and old money. Bailey and Locke LLP occupied 2 floors of a building 6 blocks from Peterman Legal, close enough to share the same lunch spots, far enough to maintain professional distance. Rachel Miles, Martin said, leaning back in his chair and studying me over his reading glasses. I've been wondering when you'd finally leave that circus. I'd reached out through a mutual contact, carefully framing my request, not job seeking, just 2 legal professionals discussing the market over coffee. The fact that we'd moved from the coffee shop to his office had been his idea. I'm exploring my options, I said carefully. Consulting. Perhaps independent work. Independent work, he repeated, smiling. With your client relationships. I maintain personal friendships with many Houston executives. Naturally, those friendships persist regardless of my employment status. Martin was 71, had built his firm from nothing, and understood exactly what I wasn't saying. Bailey and Locke had 30 lawyers to Peterman's 150, but they'd survived 40 years by being smart, not big. Hypothetically, he said, if Bailey and Locke were to bring on an independent consultant, not an employee, mind you, someone with extensive contract experience and established relationships, how might that work? Hypothetically, such an arrangement would need to respect any existing agreements the consultant might have, no direct solicitation, no sharing of proprietary information. But if clients were to independently seek out that consultant, they'd need representation, they'd need options. Martin poured himself water from a crystal pitcher. Jake Peterman called me yesterday, warned me about a former employee who might try to violate her non-compete, suggested any firm that helped her would face litigation. My stomach tightened, and I told him Bailey and Locke didn't respond well to threats, especially empty ones from children playing dress-up in their daddy's suits. For the first time in days, I felt something like hope. Here's what I propose, Martin continued. Bailey and Locke brings you on as an independent consultant, not an employee. That keeps you clear of the non-compete. You work your own matters, build your own practice. We provide infrastructure, malpractice coverage, and most importantly, legal protection if Peterman decides to get nasty. What's your cut? 40% of billings. That's high, I know, but it includes full litigation support if they come after you. And trust me, they will. 40% was steep. At Peterman, I'd kept nothing beyond my salary, but 40% of something beat 100% of nothing. I need to think about it. Of course, but Rachel, don't think too long. Jake Peterman is young, stupid, and scared. That's a dangerous combination. I left Bailey and Locke at 4:30 p.m. with Martin's offer in writing. As I waited for the elevator, my phone buzzed. 5 texts in rapid succession. Patricia Hartley. Deal fell through. New lawyer missed critical deadline. Board is furious. David Kim. Can we talk? Urgent issue with our contracts. Sarah Rodriguez. Rachel, please tell me you're still practicing somewhere. Marcus. Tori just asked if contracts need to be notarized. I'm hiding in my office. And most surprisingly, from a number I didn't recognize. Ms. Miles, I'm general counsel at Traverse Industries. Patricia Hartley suggested I reach out. Are you taking new clients? Traverse Industries, 20 billion in revenue, never a Peterman client. I sat in my car in the parking garage, engine off, staring at the messages. The smart play was to wait. Let the non-compete period pass. Start fresh in 18 months. The safe play. But I kept thinking about Patricia's text. Deal fell through. A $12 million acquisition I'd spent 3 months perfecting, destroyed in 3 days by someone who couldn't spell force majeure. I thought about the other deals in progress, the clients who didn't know their contracts were now in the hands of someone who thought legal research meant asking an AI chatbot, the years of relationships about to be ruined by incompetence. I called Martin Bailey. That was fast, he answered. I accept, with conditions. I won't solicit any Peterman clients, but if they come to me, I'll represent them. If Peterman wants a fight, they'd better bring more than Daddy's money and empty threats. Welcome to Bailey and Locke, counselor. Can you start Monday? I can start now. I have 5 friends who need legal advice and 1 potential new client who's never worked with Peterman. Martin laughed. I like you already. Come back tomorrow. We'll get you set up. And Rachel, document everything. Every text, every call, every contact who reaches out. We're going to need it. I hung up and posted a simple LinkedIn update. Pleased to announce I'm now consulting with Bailey and Locke LLP. Looking forward to new challenges and continued relationships. Professional, vague, completely within my rights. Within an hour, I had 43 reactions and 11 private messages. Word spread fast in legal circles, faster when people were desperate. I didn't respond to any from current Peterman clients. Not yet, but I did respond to Traverse Industries, scheduling a meeting for Friday. My phone rang. Unknown number, Houston area code. Rachel. Thank God. Patricia Hartley's voice was strained. I know you can't talk about Peterman business. I'm not calling about that. I'm calling because Traverse Industries needs contract help, and I told them you're the best in Houston. That's just friendly advice between friends, right? Just friendly advice, I agreed. Good, because I'd hate to think my recommendation would cause you any trouble, especially since, as a friend, I might mention your name to a few other executives who've been complaining about their current representation. The line went quiet. We both knew what she was really saying. I appreciate your friendship, Patricia. Likewise. Oh, and Rachel, Jake Peterman is an ass. That's not business talk. That's just one friend to another. She hung up before I could respond. I sat in my car as the garage lights flickered on, watching the sun sink through the concrete levels. 3 days ago, I'd been fired for lacking cultural fit. Now I had a new firm, legal protection, and clients actively creating ways to work with me without violating any agreements. Jake Peterman had wanted innovation and disruption. He was about to get it. The first domino fell at 3:22 a.m. on a Tuesday. I was awake reviewing the Texas Data Privacy Act amendments that had gone into effect 6 months earlier, the kind of tedious regulatory update that made most lawyers' eyes glaze over, but details mattered, especially ones that could cost companies millions in fines. My phone lit up. Sarah Rodriguez from Blackstone Holdings. Rachel, I know it's late, but I just got a compliance notice from the state. Something about data privacy violations. Our lawyers say it's nothing, but the potential fine is 7 figures. Can you take a look? Our lawyers, Peterman Legal. Send me the notice, I typed back. No charge for a friend's peace of mind. The document arrived immediately. I'd seen dozens like it. Texas had started aggressive enforcement of the new privacy regulations. Companies had 90 days to remediate or face escalating penalties. Scanning Blackstone's notice, I spotted the issue right away. Their customer data retention policies hadn't been updated, still using language from 2019. It was exactly the kind of detail I'd flagged in a firm-wide memo 8 months ago, a memo Jake had probably never read. Sarah, you need specialized privacy counsel immediately. This is serious. The notice cites Article 7.3 violations. That's the bad one. Bailey and Locke has an excellent data privacy team. Can you handle it? I can work with our privacy specialists, but you need to move fast. Day 45 of your notice period is Thursday. I'm calling our board chair now. Expect a call from legal in the morning. By 9 a.m., Blackstone Holdings had officially retained Bailey and Locke for emergency privacy remediation, their first move requesting all documentation from Peterman Legal regarding prior compliance work. The files Peterman sent were a mess. Outdated templates, boilerplate language, no evidence of the comprehensive audit I'd recommended and documented last year. Martin Bailey walked into my temporary office at 10:15, grinning. Peterman's paralegal just called, wants to know if we have a template thingy for data privacy compliance. I told her we practice law, not Mad Libs. That paralegal is handling 41 corporate accounts. 40 now. Rodriguez just formally terminated Peterman's representation. Conflict of interest, she said. Can't have the firm that missed the violation defending against it. 1 down, 40 to go. I spent the next 72 hours in a caffeine-fueled haze, working with Bailey and Locke's privacy team to build Blackstone's remediation plan. We filed the response with 12 hours to spare, avoiding a $2 million fine. Sarah called me Friday afternoon. Rachel, you just saved us more than Peterman billed us in 5 years. I'm recommending Bailey and Locke to every CEO in my network. I appreciate that, but nothing. I'm not soliciting you to violate anything. I'm telling my peers about excellent legal services. What they do with that information is their business. The second domino was already wobbling. David Kim from Nexus Industries had uncovered a similar issue. Not privacy this time, but export compliance. Another regulatory change. Another outdated Peterman template. Another 7-figure exposure. By Monday, I'd created what I called the regulatory alert system. Anonymous notifications sent to general business addresses. Warnings about common compliance gaps. No client information. No proprietary data. Just public service announcements about regulatory changes affecting Houston businesses. You're playing with fire, Martin warned, reviewing my carefully drafted alerts. Peterman will claim you're using insider knowledge. Every regulation I'm citing is public record. Every deadline is published by the state. If Peterman's clients happen to realize their current counsel isn't keeping up with basic regulatory changes, that's on Peterman. He signed off. Send them. The exodus started slowly. A call here. An inquiry there. Hi, we're exploring options for specialized counsel. We need a second opinion on some compliance matters. Our board is requesting competitive bids for legal services. Corporate speak for our current lawyers are incompetent, and we're scared. Marcus texted me updates from inside Peterman. Emergency all-hands meeting. Jake screaming about loyalty. Tori crying in the bathroom. 3 senior associates quit today. I didn't respond, but I saved every message. Documentation, like Martin said. Wednesday brought the news I'd been expecting. Peterman Legal filed a cease and desist order against me personally and Bailey and Locke as a firm. Violation of non-compete, tortious interference, theft of trade secrets. Martin called me into his office where 3 litigation partners were already assembled. They're claiming you're using proprietary Peterman methodologies to steal clients. Our lead litigator, Janet Walsh, explained. They want an immediate injunction plus damages. What methodologies? Their outdated templates? Their missed deadlines? They're saying you had access to confidential client information that you're now exploiting. I pulled out my laptop. Every alert I've sent is based on public regulations. Every client who contacted me did so independently. And as for methodologies, I open my cloud storage. These are my templates, my checklists, created on my personal time, stored on my personal devices, time-stamped years before Jake Peterman even knew what a law firm was. Janet smiled. Can you prove Peterman never asked you to transfer these to their systems? Better. I can show emails where I offered to implement firm-wide systems and was told it wasn't a priority. Jake's father said, and I quote, "Why fix what isn't broken?" It's broken now, Martin said. 9 clients have moved over this week. 32 more have requested proposals. At this rate, Peterman will lose half their corporate practice by Christmas. The conference room phone buzzed. Martin's assistant. Mr. Bailey, Jake Peterman is here, demanding to see you immediately. Martin looked at me. Want to face him? Wouldn't miss it. Send him in. Then, to me, remember, let us do the talking. The door burst open. Jake Peterman stood there, designer suit wrinkled, hair disheveled, looking nothing like the smug executive who'd fired me 2 weeks earlier. You, he pointed at me, hands shaking. You destroyed everything. 41 clients, Rachel. 41. Mr. Peterman. Janet cut in smoothly. Any communication should go through counsel. Screw counsel. She knows what she did. Sabotage. Corporate espionage. I'll sue you into bankruptcy. Looking forward to discovery, Janet said calmly, particularly the part where we examine why Ms. Miles was terminated, who replaced her, and that person's qualifications. Jake's face drained of color. Discovery meant depositions under oath about Tori. This isn't over, he said, but the threat was hollow. Your father built a respectable firm, Martin said, standing. You destroyed it in 6 months. Ms. Miles simply refused to go down with the ship. Now, unless you have a valid legal matter to discuss, get out of my office. Jake left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. Janet turned to me. He's panicking. Panicked people make mistakes. Keep doing exactly what you're doing. That afternoon, 3 more clients called. Not about compliance this time. They'd heard about Jake's meltdown, heard he'd stormed into Bailey and Locke making threats. Professional services relied on one thing above all else: trust, and Jake Peterman had just shown 41 corporate clients exactly who they'd been trusting with their legal matters. The emergency board meeting at Peterman Legal started at 8 a.m. Thursday. I knew because Marcus live-streamed it from the parking lot. Apparently, Jake had called an all-hands meeting and forgotten the conference room windows faced the street. Complete meltdown. Marcus texted, senior partners demanding answers, Jake blaming everyone but himself. I was in my Bailey and Locke office preparing for 3 client meetings when Janet Walsh knocked. Thought you'd want to see this. She handed me a printout from Legal Industry Daily. The headline read, Peterman Legal Hemorrhaging Clients Amid Leadership Crisis. The article was brutal. Anonymous sources describing chaos, clients questioning sudden departures, and buried in paragraph 6, sources indicated numerous Fortune 500 companies had received compliance violations potentially costing millions, raising questions about the firm's competency. We didn't leak anything, Janet said. Didn't have to. When 9 major corporations fire their law firm in 2 weeks, people notice. My phone buzzed. Patricia Hartley. Board meeting in 1 hour. We're discussing a permanent counsel change. Thought you should know. I set the phone down carefully. Patricia was being strategic. Boardroom discussions were confidential, but if Hartley Industries was considering a change, she'd need options ready. Smart executives didn't fire their lawyers without replacements lined up. At 10:30, I was reviewing contracts when Martin appeared in my doorway with someone I didn't recognize, a distinguished woman in her 60s. Rachel, meet. Joyce Brennan from Traverse Industries. Joyce, Rachel Miles. I stood and shook hands with the general counsel of one of Texas's largest companies, the new client Patricia had mentioned. Ms. Miles, Joyce said, studying me with sharp eyes. I've heard interesting things. 41 companies can't be wrong. I maintain strong professional relationships, I said carefully. Cut the lawyer speak, Joyce said with a smile. I've been in this business 40 years. I know a coup when I see one. The question is, can you handle what's coming? What's coming? Peterman is desperate. They've hired Bradford and Associates to sue you, Bailey and Locke, and any client who switches firms. Tortious interference. They're claiming conspiracy to destroy a business. Bradford and Associates, the firm that defended tobacco companies and chemical polluters. When you hired Bradford, you weren't looking for justice. You were looking for blood. They can try, Martin said. We have documentation showing every client contacted us independently. Documentation won't matter if they bury you in motions. Joyce added, Bradford will file in multiple jurisdictions, demand expedited hearings, basically bleed you dry with legal fees. Why are you telling us this? I asked. Because Traverse Industries needs new counsel, and I don't like being threatened. Jake Peterman called our CEO yesterday, said any company that hires you will be named in their lawsuit, claimed you've stolen trade secrets giving unfair competitive advantages. My stomach clenched. What did your CEO say? He said Traverse doesn't negotiate with terrorists. Joyce grinned. Then he authorized me to retain Bailey and Locke immediately. Full corporate representation, 5-year contract. Martin actually gasped. Traverse would be Bailey and Locke's largest client by far. There's more, Joyce continued. I've spoken with my counterparts at several other companies. We're forming what we're calling a legal defense consortium. Any company that gets sued for changing firms will have their defense costs covered by the group. A union for corporations, I asked. Insurance, strengthened numbers, also sends a message. You come after one of us, you fight all of us. By noon, 17 companies had joined the consortium. By 2 p.m., 23. The response from Peterman was swift and predictable. At 3:45, a process server arrived with a stack of lawsuits. Bailey and Locke was named in 6 different actions across 3 jurisdictions. I was personally named in 4. Janet assembled our litigation team in the main conference room. They're throwing everything at the wall. RICO claims conspiracy, theft of trade secrets, intentional infliction of emotional distress. That's a new one. Emotional distress? I read through the complaint. Jake Peterman is claiming I caused him severe psychological trauma by doing my job too well. It's a scare tactic, Janet said. But defending against multiple suits will cost nothing, Joyce Brennan interrupted, walking in uninvited. The consortium's outside counsel will handle all defense. We've retained Morrison, Clean, and Black. Morrison, Clean, they didn't just fight lawsuits, they eviscerated them. Having them on our side was like bringing a nuclear weapon to a knife fight. Additionally, Joyce continued, we're filing our own action: defamation, business disparagement, and abuse of process. Jake Peterman made recorded statements to multiple CEOs threatening their companies. That's actionable. Martin looked at me. This is escalating beyond what any of us expected. I thought about Jake in his corner office, feet on his father's desk, firing me because I didn't fit his vision of innovation. I thought about Tori, probably crying in a bathroom somewhere as another deal collapsed. I thought about 41 companies that had trusted me with their success, now scrambling to protect themselves from a firm that had forgotten its only job was to serve clients. Let it escalate, I said. Jake wanted disruption. He's about to learn what that really means. Joyce smiled. I like her, Martin. No wonder Patricia speaks so highly of her. My phone vibrated. Another text from Marcus. Emergency partner meeting just called. Rumor has it Jake's father is flying back from Europe. This is bad. I showed the text to Janet. William Peterman, the founder. He retired 2 years ago. If he's coming back? Martin shook his head. This isn't just about losing clients anymore. This is about saving the firm. Too late for that, Joyce said, checking her phone. I just got word. 3 more companies filed termination letters this afternoon. That makes 26 total. 26 of 41 in just under 3 weeks. The phone in the conference room rang. Martin's assistant. Mr. Bailey, William Peterman is on line 1. He says it's urgent. We all looked at each other. The founder himself. Put him through, Martin said, hitting speaker. The voice was older but commanding. Is Monsieur Miles there? I'm here, Mr. Peterman, I said. Rachel. A long pause. What would it take to make this stop? I'm not sure I understand the question. Don't play games. My firm is dying. My son is an idiot. But it's still my name on the building. What do you want? I looked at Martin, who nodded. I want nothing. Mr. Peterman, your clients are making their own choices. This is coordinated. This is revenge. This is consequences. I said, your son fired me to give my job to his girlfriend. Did you know that? Did you know Tori doesn't even have a law degree? Silence, then. I'll handle Jake. Come back. Name your terms. Full equity partnership. Your own division. Whatever you want. It's too late for that. It's never too late. I built this firm from nothing. I won't watch it die. You should have thought of that before you retired and left it to someone who thinks law is about disruption and synergy. Rachel. Goodbye, Mr. Peterman. I hung up. The room was silent. Then Joyce started laughing. Oh, that was beautiful. The old man himself begging. He'll fight harder now, Janet warned. Wounded pride is dangerous. Let him fight, I said. Every lawsuit, every threat, every desperate move just proves what everyone already knows. Peterman Legal is finished. They just haven't admitted it yet. My phone lit up with notifications. More clients reaching out. More companies joining the consortium. More dominoes falling. Jake Peterman had wanted to transform his father's firm. Mission accomplished. The call came at 11:45 p.m. on a Sunday. Joyce Brennan sounded uncharacteristically excited. Rachel, are you awake? Check your email now. I was in bed, laptop already open, working on a contract review. The email was from someone I didn't recognize, a mid-level attorney at Peterman Legal. Ms. Miles, I'm taking a significant career risk contacting you, but you deserve to know what's happening. Peterman is about to sign Thorne Industries to an exclusive 5-year representation agreement, $20 million in guaranteed billings. The contracts are based on your old templates, but they haven't been updated for the new federal trade regulations that took effect last month. If Thorne signs these, they'll be exposed to massive penalties. I thought someone should warn them. Thorne Industries, one of the 3 clients who'd stayed with Peterman, mainly because their CEO, Robert Thorne, was William Peterman's golf buddy. Joyce, I can't act on this. It's clearly confidential information. You can't, but I can. Thorne's board includes 2 members of our consortium. They have a fiduciary duty to protect the company from legal malpractice. That's a very creative interpretation. I'm a very creative lawyer. Send me the email. I'll handle it from here. I hesitated. Using inside information felt wrong, even if I hadn't solicited it. But then I thought about Thorne Industries, thousands of employees, millions in revenue, about to sign documents that could destroy them because their lawyers were too incompetent to track regulatory changes. I forwarded the email. Monday morning brought chaos. At 7 a.m., Martin called an emergency meeting. Thorne Industries has postponed their signing ceremony. He announced their board is demanding an independent review of the contracts. They've also requested proposals from 3 firms, including us. How did they? I started, then stopped. Better not to know. However, Martin continued, Peterman has responded by filing an emergency injunction. They're claiming we're using stolen information to interfere with their business. Janet Walsh handed out copies of the filing. They're seeking an immediate restraining order preventing us from communicating with any current or former Peterman client. If granted, it would effectively shut down half our practice. The hearing is tomorrow morning, Martin said. Federal Court, Judge Chen. I winced. Judge Chen was notoriously harsh on corporate disputes. She'd once sanctioned a firm for what she called predatory client acquisition. We need to prove everything we've done is above board, Janet said. Rachel, I need every email, every text, every communication you've had since leaving Peterman. I spent the next 12 hours in document review with our litigation team, every message carefully cataloged. Patricia Hartley's friendly advice, Sarah Rodriguez's panicked compliance questions, David Kim's casual lunch invitations that turned into business discussions. It's clean, Janet concluded at 8 p.m. Every client reached out first. You never solicited. But what? The Thorne information. If they can prove we acted on insider knowledge. We didn't, I said. I forwarded an unsolicited email to Joyce. What she did with it was her business. That's thin. It's what we have. Tuesday morning, Federal Courthouse, 9 a.m. sharp. The Peterman team took up one entire side of the courtroom. Bradford and Associates had sent their A-team, 6 partners, 12 associates. Enough paper to deforest a small country. Our side was leaner. Martin, Janet, 2 associates, and me. William Peterman sat in the front row, his face carved from stone. Jake was nowhere to be seen. Probably hiding, Janet whispered.